Hello, everyone. My name is John Brenneman. Thank you for joining us today. Joined by our good friend Amanda. We're going to go through the beautiful castles along the Rhine itinerary today. Before we get started, just a couple of housekeeping things. We are recording today's webinar, so we are going to upload this to YouTube and send you an email. That email will include a link to this webinar. So if myself or Amanda says anything during this presentation, just make a note of the time that we say it. And then instead of watching the entire webinar again, you can just fast forward to that part because we did start right at the top of the hour. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to start out. I'm going to talk real briefly about MOAA Vacations, who we are, kind of what makes us special, and how the procedure is handled to actually reserve your spot on this fantastic cruise. Then going to turn it over to Amanda. Amanda's going to talk to us about Uniworld. What makes them unique? Why does MOAA pick Uniworld for all of their signature groups? And then we're going to end with the Q&A, give you an opportunity to answer any questions you might have. We'll answer those for you. So I always like to start out and talk about who MOAA Vacations is. We are the official travel agency for MOAA. We do specialize in vacation travel. And the first thing we always talk about is our level of service. We do provide a concierge level of service. And the way we kind of try to summarize this quickly, because I could talk about this subject at length, is we are the only travel agency to provide service on a satisfaction guaranteed basis. And what that means is if you have any issue either before or during your trip, you reach out to us. In almost all cases, you talk directly to me. If I'm unavailable, like escorting a MOAA group, you'll then talk to Mike Tyrell, our vice president here, and we get that matter resolved to your satisfaction within 48 hours. We do guarantee the lowest prices. We do have a free amenity program in recognition of your past and continued service. Uniworld does participate in this program. So on any Uniworld cruise that you would book, let's say in addition to the castles along the Rhine, there's another Uniworld sailing you want to go on. Let's say, next year, next fall, you want to do, holiday markets or something like that. Any cruise you select, there's $100 per person discount on any of those. And that not only applies to you, everything we talk about applies to both MOA members and any of your guests that travel with you. So you and anyone traveling with you would receive a $100 per person discount on any Uniworld sailing. And then the last thing is group opportunities. We provide the opportunity for you to travel with your fellow MOA members from across the country. We have hundreds of group departures that we have set up. And the two real big advantages of group departures are first off, the camaraderie of traveling with your fellow MOA members. And then there's also the savings that you receive when you block a group space. But today we're going to talk about something that's a little special, which is the MOA signature groups. And so the MOA signature groups are like a normal group, but on steroids is kind of the way I talk about because there's a lot more that goes into them. And the first thing we always talk about is the fact that they're hosted by MOA leadership and staff. So, in addition to sailing with all of your fellow MOA members, you have MOA leadership on board, which is such a unique opportunity, and they're on for the entirety of your cruise. So, be it going on an excursion with them, having a drink with them, joining them for dinner, whatever it is, it's your opportunity to interact with them, ask them questions about what Mo is doing up on the hill, as well as providing your suggestions and those types of things. It's just such a unique opportunity. They are all inclusive. I know Amanda's going to talk a little bit more about this, how everything is included, but basically on these signature groups with Uniworld we're going to talk about, you literally, when you land in the airport, when they pick you up at the airport to take you to the ship, you can go for the duration of that cruise without spending any money at all. I've done this when I've gone with my daughter before. Everything's included, all your shore excursions, all Wi-Fi, all your beverages, all of that stuff is included. So it's really just great to be on there and not have to worry about that. We do have exclusive onboard events that we put together on these. We have a welcome reception, a farewell reception, but a lot of times we look to add unique events on board. For example, we did Paris and Normandy. And when we did that, one of the events that we did is we went up on board the ship. MOAA leadership spoke, and then we listened to taps, and then everyone was given a rose, and we went over to the side of the ship and threw the rose in the Seine. It was a private memorial service that we held that was very moving for everyone. I kind of alluded this earlier, but anything that we do, you are invited to bring friends and family along. This is your vacation. We want it to be as much fun as possible. If you'd have more fun if your neighbor went or you had another couple that wanted to go with you, friends, that's great. We've had people bring along grandkids, kids, siblings, everything. I don't think we've ever done a signature group without several couples bringing non-MOA members along. So when we talk about these groups where we hold the entire ship, so think about that. When you get on this ship, basically everybody that you meet on this ship at dinner, cocktail parties, excursions, and everything is going to be a MOA member or a guest of a MOA member. It creates such a welcoming atmosphere. And so it's even more so than the camaraderie. There is a higher level of appreciation and consideration for your fellow travelers that you wouldn't get during a normal trip. But anyway, friends and family are invited, and then there are rare opportunities. In just a second, I'm going to kind of go through these. But in this year, we only have two MOA signature groups for the entire year. We do have a Uniworld one in July. I'm going to touch on that in just a second. And then next year, we only have four signature groups the entire year. So they are rare opportunities, but only one of those is a river cruise. So if you're looking at going on a river cruise next year, this is your one opportunity to do a river cruise where everyone on the ship is going to be a MOA member. Okay, so I said rare opportunity. Real quick, here are the two MOA signature groups. The first one, which I talked about, is July 12th to the 21st, highlights of Eastern Europe. I know you can't see that little probably banner strip there, but we only have six staterooms remaining on this cabin. So right now, out of the 75 staterooms, 69 have been sold to MOA members and MOA guests. But if you were looking to do something this summer, highly recommend you look into this. We did do a complete webinar on this sailing. So if you're interested in joining us, I will personally be escorting this cruise. Please just drop us an email, let us know, give us a call. Love to get you more information. Love to have you join us. It's a fantastic itinerary from Budapest to Bucharest. So let us know about that. But obviously, everybody here's today to talk about castles along the Rhine. So we're going to get more into that. But as I said, we only have one river cruise all of next year. So if you like river cruising, and there's a lot of reason to like river cruising, which we're going to get into, we'd love it if you could join us. Uh, excuse me. So one of the things that we found when we've done these is people, when they look at this, and it's like, I'm going to go to Europe, which is a long flight and not inexpensive, particularly if you go business class. It's a 7 night cruise. A lot of members want to extend those vacations. So we started after offering pre's and posts. So for castles along the Rhine, we have both a 5 night pre and a 5 night post opportunity. These are done through a company called Insight, which is actually owned by the same company as Uniworld. So they are sister companies. And these are actually like the cruise is exclusively for MOA members and their guests. These are custom exclusive excursions. And so these are actually bus tours. This isn't just an extension. This is actually where you'd fly into, for example, for the pre, you'd fly into Brussels, and it is a daily tour with sightseeing, meals, all those other types of things included on a bus where everyone on the bus will be a MOA member. So these are another great opportunity. So there's the 5 night pre. And then there's a 5 night post, which is something everyone seems to always ask about, which is Switzerland, in particular, Lake Lucerne. Uh, Fantastic picture of Lake Lucerne there. Um, so something you may want to consider. So if you're going to fly all the way to Europe, if you do the pre and post both, then instead of just going over for 7 days, you're going over for 17. Kind of make it more kind of worthwhile for lack of another another word for it. But they're completely optional. But we have one bus for each of these, and the buses are limited to 40 seats. So if it's something you're considering, absolutely let us know. And the other thing is, I'm just going to point this out. Uh, the picture we picked for Amsterdam shows the tulips, and if you haven't thought of this yet, the Castle Along the Rhine itinerary basically goes from April to September. But the reason we picked the end of April is that is the height of tulip season. So when we are there, when we are in Belgium, when we are in the Netherlands, the country is awash in color as the tulips are just blooming everywhere. So specifically pick that time frame to go for that kind of added benefit. Okay, so real quick before I turn it over, how do you reserve your space on board? Okay, so the first thing I like to show is this is the actual current deck plan of the ship, and you can see those little elongated. They're kind of octagons, so I call them stop signs. Those indicate the cabins that have already been sold. So we're about a third of the ship sold already. So what you would do is you'd kind of look at this and be able to pick out the cabin number you wanted. And by the way, once again, we're going to send you a link to the website where all of this information is on it. So there's a tab that says pricing and accommodations. You can go here, you can see the cabins that are available. This next slide actually shows the pricing. And so you can see the price for all the different cabin categories. And then you can pick the cabin category you want. And then in just a second, I'm going to show you how you reserve your spot. But wanted to talk about something real quick that's on the website. And that's the fact that we show two different pricing, the 7 night and the 9 night. The 9 night includes 2 nights pre-cruise in Amsterdam. And I know that Amanda's going to talk a little bit more about this, but the ship actually sails from Arnhem, and she's going to talk about why that is the case, the positioning of the ship, and all those other types of things. But we just want to make people understand that if you just do the 7 night cruise, you'll actually fly into the Amsterdam airport. Uniworld transfers you from the airport to the ship, and you're in Arnhem. And then that evening, excuse me, you actually depart. So you don't actually see Amsterdam other than looking out the passenger van window unless you do a pre. So we literally end up with two options. You can do a 2 night pre in Amsterdam where instead of transferring to the ship, you go in 2 nights early. Uniworld transfers you to a hotel. You have 2 nights in a hotel, and then they transfer you to the ship. So if you want to see Amsterdam, we always recommend at least going in a day early. So something to consider. It's $800 per person more to do the pre-package. Keep in mind we are at the busiest, most expensive time of the year because it is tulip time. So there is that option we recommend, but you have basically your choice. Three choices, I guess. You can do the 7 night cruise. You can do the 7 night cruise with the 2 night pre, or we have the 5 night pre package. Okay. So once you decide you want to go, this is actually a screenshot of the website. Once again, when you get the email, it's going to have a link to this website. And if you can read it, there's a number of tabs across the top. So everything we talk about today is also on the website. So we have that pricing and accommodations page where you can see the cabins that are booked, what the pricing is. It also includes a picture and a diagram of all the different staterooms, how much square footage they are, everything else. So you can kind of decide which cabin you want. Of course, you can always call us or email us if you have any questions about specific cabins. There's a day-to-day itinerary, which is, we're going to go over that in just a little bit. Amanda's going to go through day by day. I mentioned it's all inclusive. So when you go through that day by day and you see the various shore excursions, all of the shore excursions listed are included or complimentary as well. Anyway, so there's all these different tabs. The one I want to talk about though is that blue circle in the upper left-hand corner that says book now. Once you decide you want to go, we ask you to click on that, and there's a very simple form that you fill out. We ask for your legal name as it's on your passport, your date of birth, same thing for your guests, and then your address, email address, and phone number, and then what cabin category that you'd like. And the reason we ask you to do that is so we can actually set up a date. Well, when those forms come in, they're dated and time stamped. and then we contact people in the order those forms are received to allow you to select your cabin. So we know that as soon as this webinar is over, people are going to begin booking. And so to try to make it as fair as possible, we just set this up. So as soon as you decide you want to go, you click on that, you fill out the form, someone will contact you and work with you to pick out whichever stateroom you want. Now, I mentioned that there's about 45, 50-ish cabins left because the ship's about a third full. But one cabin category is already sold out. And so there are 7 different cabin categories. So those 50 remaining cabins are spread out over 7 different cabin categories. So a couple of them, particularly the suites or the Riverview staterooms, there's not that many left already. So we want to be as fair as possible, which is why we kind of go through this process of, hey, this is how we want the booking to do. The other thing, of course, is we want to be very accurate. So if you actually type in your information, your address, the spellings of your name and all that stuff, we get all that correct. So a very simple procedure. We do it for all the signature groups. So at any point during Amanda's presentation, if you decide you'd like to go, I'm going to go ahead and drop the URL for that book now form into the Q&A, and just let us know. So real quick on the Q&A, because I'm going to turn it over to Amanda, but I'm actually going to turn my camera off just for a minute. Amanda is going to talk about Uniworld, then she's going to go into a deep day-by-day dive, specifically on castles along the Rhine. And then we're going to turn our cameras back on again, and we're going to do a Q&A and answer all of your questions. So you and anyone that you want to invite with you will have all your answers so you can decide to join us. And just last thing I want to say is I want to personally invite you to join us on this sailing. It is going to be phenomenal. The signature groups are far and away the most popular things we do. It's just you're going to get on board. One of the things I like to say is the entire cruise is with friends you just haven't met with, because you're going to be with fellow MOAA members the entire cruise. I've been on enough of these, escorting them. I think I've escorted 8 cruises now, signature groups on Uniworld. They're extremely popular, but the just the connections that you have, that I see on every one of these sailings between MOAA members, where even if they're not the same branch of service, they will know people in common. They'll serve in the same areas or the regions or whatever. I mean, myself last year, I did Burgundy Provence and met a MOAA member who used to live 2 blocks away from where I lived. We started talking. He said, "Oh, I used to live in Kansas City." And then we're like, you kind of, we ended up going to the same junior high, when they used to call them junior highs. We went to the same elementary school, and we realized we went to the same elementary school. We found out we lived a couple of blocks of each other, a few years separated in school, but it's just such a small world, or a small country, when you really get to it. And then the great thing about these signature groups is once you go on your first one, let's say you decide to join us this summer, and then you go next year, 30, 40 of the people are like, you're already going to know from the previous one you did. So that's why we have people that go on these year after year after year. They are somewhat addictive. I guess I should warn everyone. Anyway, as I said, I'm going to turn my camera off. I'm going to turn it over to Amanda. And I'm going to be back at the end, and we're all going to go through and do all the Q&A together. So Amanda, take it away.
Thank you so much for having me, Jon. I'm grateful to be here with you all, especially grateful for a few pieces of this experience. First of all, being a small part of providing options to these special clients and their friends of yours. And I'm also incredibly grateful to represent this fantastic company. I just got back from Amsterdam. This has been, well, it's been a couple weeks since I got back. And I went there to be a part of what we call kickoff. And kickoff is all about the crew. It's not about the salespeople. It's not about the leadership. It's about taking the time to honor and recognize our crew, because they're on board being at the best in class service, whether it's a waiter, a captain, housekeeping. They were all getting up on stage, getting awards and getting recognized. And I think we all know these sorts of things come bottom from the top when you've got something special. So Uniworld is definitely something special, whether you're shoreside like me working for the company or on board. It's just a fantastic company to work for and definitely a special experience as a traveler. And every salesperson that chats with you is going to tell you they're representing the very best product. But I'm here to explain in detail to you today why Uniworld is the best in river cruising. This slide is very helpful in proving these facts to you, but it still doesn't contain all the details on why Uniworld is such a special experience. You'll see up top there I added the staff to guest ratio is average 2.4 to 1. All inclusive, that is not a watered down all inclusive. Truly, you will not have to get out your wallet the whole time you're on board. I know Jon was talking about when he took his daughter on a sailing, they had some onboard credit, so he had her go to the little gift shop and purchase something there. That would be an opportunity to get out your wallet, but of course you will have onboard credit with this sailing. In addition to that, we do have a spa on board, and that would really be the only other opportunity that you'd have to spend any money on board with us. So it's a beautiful thing to have the gratuities included. Excursions are included. As you can see here, bicycles, Nordic walking sticks are included, unlimited beverages, even the premium spirits and wines are included on board. Onboard wellness, of course, we've got a 24-hour fitness facility, fitness classes included, laundry. If you have a suite, you will have butler service, and they can take care of your laundry for you. That's included. As well as you'll see, there's some other details like the farm to ship dining that I'll go more into specifics about that. Sommeliers on board to give you a wealth and breadth of history of the different beverages that you're able to experience with us on board. Since we've got local wines on board, there's really a story that comes behind every glass of wine on board with us. And of course, we've got specialty dining venues that you'll experience on board, all inclusive. And the onboard entertainment is a phenomenal experience as well. We have some of the best and brightest on board with us. The whole team, whether you're a crew or the entertainment team, just phenomenal people to work with and travel with. And allow me to introduce you to the Antoinette. This will be your home away from home for 7 nights while you're on the river cruise. In addition to some of the features you saw during that video, you'll also have a movie theater on board the Antoinette. There will be fresh flowers throughout, and then that beautiful chandelier with the hanging sapphires, that's actually from the Tavern on the Green. And keep in mind, each ship is so special. Each ship is designed for the river that it's traveling down and the region it's traveling in. So the Antoinette is absolutely inspired by this region. And you'll see that in the furnishings, the artwork, the cuisine on board, and of course, those local wines that we'll have on board as well. And I wanted to make sure I include this picture, so I didn't forget to mention that every single stateroom on board is exquisite. Whether you're traveling in one of our classic staterooms to this French balcony where you can actually lower that top window. It's so awesome to be able to lower that window and get that fresh air and enjoy the incredible views just from your stateroom. There's really not a bad spot on the ship. Of course, you have the sun deck up top where you can relax, kick back, have a glass of wine, and watch these magical castles and monasteries and beautiful, charming little towns that are so picturesque. They'll just float by, and it's just the most relaxing way to travel. I also want to make sure I mention the Savoy beds. This is the best night's sleep. It's kind of hard to come home after this experience with Uniworld because the beds are absolutely phenomenal. They are an investment, but you are sleeping so soundly. You're having these adventurous days, going out, having excursions with our local experts and our special team in each port. Of course, Uniworld's been in Europe doing this for over 50 years, longer than anyone else. So we've got some incredibly special relationships that allow us to pass those experiences on to you, whether it be the excursions or the cuisine on board. You're really immersed in the region thanks to these relationships we have. And I have to mention, I'm so proud of being part of the Make Travel Matter committee here at the Travel Corporation, which owns Uniworld. We're doing so many good things in our communities. We have goals of becoming carbon neutral by 2050. And in the last 3 years, we eliminated food waste by over 30%. So we have goals of making that 100%. Now, don't worry, you're never going to go hungry on board with us. We have meal after meal, 24/7 room service. You can have whatever you want whenever you want. But in order to achieve our sustainability goals, we want to have all of our buffets eliminated by the end of 2027 into the 2028 season so that we can avoid that food waste and have all plated meals, which is a great way to provide even better service by allowing our staff on board to serve you as opposed to having any buffets in the morning. So we are exceeding standards and the expectations in every aspect. And you'll see here this slide, we did eliminate single-use plastics. So you will have a Uniworld water bottle waiting for you in your room. And there are several different water stations throughout the ship that you can fill up. And of course, we all know it's so important to stay hydrated, especially when you're traveling. And the food is absolutely phenomenal. A lot of times you'll have these beautifully plated pieces that, come out whether you're sailing on a cruise or at a restaurant, and it's a piece of art. And that is absolutely the case on board with us. Each meal is absolutely phenomenal. You're going to be taking pictures of your food. If you haven't done that before, it'll be happening here on the ship. But in addition to having this beautifully plated meal, each meal, you can also experience the flavors of the region through this meal, thanks to our chefs They are so passionate about what they do. We actually have Michelin star chefs on board, and they source all their ingredients from 30 miles from the embarkation site. So there is where it really comes in to encompass the flavors of the region. And in addition to that, we're working with local farmers, local restaurants in order to bring these flavors of the region to you, and they are as fresh as possible. So keep in mind that if you have any dietary needs, whether it's vegan, vegetarian, gluten-free, celiac, high protein, whatever the case may be, our chefs are up and ready for the challenge. They actually get excited about having the opportunity to serve you and make sure your needs are met on board. So just pass on that information to Jon and his team, and we'll make sure that we have those accommodations set up before you even board, and you'll have your own special menu, and in addition to that, endless pours, of course. Don't worry about, certain times of day or happy hours. This is never ending supply, whatever you want, whenever you want. When we first started the show, Jon said, "This is your vacation. We want you to have fun. We want it to be exactly what you want." That's our job on board, is to make sure that you are getting all your needs met. And when it comes to ordering a nightcap, you can call for that, and you can get whatever premium liquor included in that and not have to worry about a bill at the end for anything. As I mentioned, just spa treatments and the gift shop are really the only opportunities to spend money while you're on board with us. So enjoy, indulge, and then if you are pursuing a healthier path of being sober and enjoying mocktails once in a while, you will love our non-alcoholic mocktail menu that we have here at Uniworld. They are phenomenal. I tried a couple of the different combinations, and the bartender was really just, it was a fascinating history of where we acquired these different brands, the stories behind them, how they make them taste so great and so similar to the real thing. So you can enjoy a mocktail and it's not going to be identifiable. If that's private information, it'll stay private because it's a beautifully curated cocktail. And it just is a wonderful thing to be able to celebrate along with everybody else while choosing this healthier option. Give me just a second here. Okay, and on to the show, Castles on the Rhine. This is our most popular itinerary, number one seller year over year. And as Jon mentioned, you're going at the best time of year to be there. April 25th through May 2nd, the peak season for the blooms, and it'll just be magical. All the colors popping up throughout as you're traversing down the Rhine with us. And I know Jon did mention we'll be embarking in Arnhem instead of Amsterdam, and that's a strategic move. We're able to provide a much better experience by docking or embarking in Arnhem because that sits right on the lower Rhine and it avoids all that heavy commercial traffic. And it's really a pretty industrial area where the Amsterdam port is. So this just better positions us for that first port of Cologne and also gives you that scenic route immediately as we start our voyage down the Rhine. And you'll be surrounded by beautiful rolling hills, green landscapes, and more daylight at this time as well. And just remember to always dress in layers this time of year because you're going to have anywhere from 60 degrees up to 68 degrees this time of year typically. So warm, sunny, bright days, and then it can get a little bit chilly at night. And your first port is going to be in Cologne, which is well known for its medieval gates that greet you right as you pull up, and of course that cathedral, which is so majestic seeing it from the ship. Keep in mind your point of view is going to be a little bit lower, so it's just towering up over you. Took over 600 years to complete. The cathedral is an UNESCO World Heritage Site, as well as the old town. You're going to be experiencing this region with a local expert guide. And we only work with the best folks. As I mentioned, 50 years in the business, we have the best on our team. And everyone loves working for Uniworld, including me. So here in Cologne, you're going to hear all the local history from that local expert. And of course, you're going to have some different opportunities to do a walking tour, to go out on your own on a bike tour. That will actually be a guided tour. There's also a hike through the region if you should choose. Keep in mind, each excursion is going to appeal to a different type of traveler. Most of the time, we're going to have 4 excursions a day as options, and you can do them all if time allows. This is all included. So whether you're a history buff and would like to really immerse yourself in the history of the region, or you appreciate culinary experiences, we'll have a culinary tour at every port, as well as being active and taking advantage of those bikes on board, and of course the Nordic walking sticks if you're going to be doing a hike. Those are so helpful. And then here, our second port is going to be Koblenz, which is such a beautiful town. As you can see, every town that as you pull up, it's like a storybook, and it's so exciting to port because you're right there in the city center. So keep in mind, you're there, you're able to pop in and out, head back to your room if you need a nap, and then head back out again. This is your vacation, and you get to experience this whole river cruise in each port, each excursion on your own terms. Koblenz is really known for its incredible architecture. The basilica is phenomenal. It's from the 9th century. There were panels of the Berlin Wall here, and I was really enchanted by that, being able to see that in Koblenz. The Rhinestein Castle is a magical experience. And this is your night out with us, and all included. Your night out is going to include this castle, and it's oftentimes not accessible to the public. And keep in mind that when you go on these excursions, many of them are exclusive Uniworld experiences, meaning you are able to go into museums, into castles, into different features of these regions and experience those just as a private group with Uniworld. So we'll often go in after it closes to the public, before it opens to the public, so that we can give you that exclusive experience. And the pictures you get thanks to that are phenomenal. I'm going to be taking my daughter on a Venice cruise this summer, and I'm so excited to go back to St. Mark's Basilica after hours and get these pictures after hours without a bunch of other people in them, so that I can just have those special moments with our traveling partners and make those memories as an exclusive group. So here in Koblenz, there's of course that night out where you get to see the castle that's over 700 years old. There's this drawbridge that you just want to reach out and touch because you know it's got a story to tell. And then there are views from the top that are phenomenal. You'll be able to see the Rhine and the Mosel from the views of the castle, and the sparkling lights in the distance and the little villages and towns. So it's a pretty magical experience in that port. And then you're on off to Rudesheim, which is such a special place and very well known for its Riesling. This is where I fell in love with Riesling. I always thought I was more of a red wine person, but being on board, you're going to have the sommelier giving you a full history of each wine you're experiencing. So it just brings that drink to life, and you're able to taste the different notes. And when you hear the story of the different vineyards, and oftentimes we'll know the owners of these different estates, and you're able to get the tours by the owners or the GM of the area, and that just really brings that experience to life for you. So you're going to have this wine tasting at the vineyard and the castle, another one that's not open to the public. There's lavish interiors inside, a gold embossed wall, and this area has been producing these world-renowned Rieslings since the 1200s. So of course you've got these different options of going through the vineyard and doing a hike led led by an expert, of course, and then the Castle Volrad's wine tasting as well as an option that day. And then we're off to Spire, very appropriately named because you'll be greeted by these spires as soon as you pull up in the ship. This Germersheim region is really known for its beautiful nature scenes, rolling hills, incredibly friendly locals. You'll be led by the experts to the old town to learn all about the history, and then you'll be able to see the secret gardens and its collections in a historic building by the owner. This is a world-renowned traveler that will take you through his estate and show you his collections. And these by no means are small pieces. They're really exquisite art. It's an exquisite art collection that only Uniworld guests get to experience, as well as his expansive garden that is just an absolutely magical experience, especially this time of year. But also you'll have the opportunity to go to the Doktorenhof vinegar estate. And this is special because usually the brothers will take you throughout the estate, the brothers that own it. And it's interesting because I've always known this region for its fantastic wines, but this vinegar that comes from this area as well, from the same starter that makes the wine, is so special. So you'll have the option to choose between the two and go out on a journey with us here in this port in Spire and enjoy the beautiful surroundings. And of course, having some free time in every port, you're going to be able to experience each port on your own terms and just get lost on these cobblestone streets. But it's nice because you'll be given that tour. So you'll get the lay of the land when you first arrive, so that you'll feel like a local by the time you're done exploring that town. And the next port is Strasbourg, which, oh gosh, it's hard to choose a favorite, but I do love France. And of course, on this journey, you've got France on one side, Germany on another, and then you end in Switzerland. So this is such a neat journey. Strasbourg, it has so much history, and you'll see that in the different cultural hubs. Of course, it being part of France, it was once part of Germany, and you'll see those influences throughout, whether it's in the food that's featured. You'll have those incredible bakeries with the smells just wafting down the street that it enchants you and brings you in. The cobblestone streets. And then, of course, you've got the German influences with breweries and the pretzels and just the warmth of the people in this region. I had a wonderful experience. The last time I was in this area, I was at the Christmas markets, and I had accidentally dropped some cash, and it kind of was floating in the wind, and I didn't even realize it. And one of my traveling partners said, "Hey, you dropped a bunch of cash." And the people behind us, the locals at the market, were picking up the cash, running towards me to bring it to me. So these people are just salt of the earth, and it's a wonderful experience when you're out here. I encourage you, talk to the locals, connect with them, hear their stories. I know Jon mentioned the connection on the ship is just phenomenal, but every time you go into these ports, they're so delighted to connect with you and hear your stories as well. It's a great opportunity to make friends with people in these regions as well. So Strasbourg is very special, of course, known for that Gothic cathedral. You'll see that right as you pull up. It's a masterpiece. The architecture in every single port is just phenomenal. And also the stork's nests. I don't want to forget to mention that. That was fascinating to see these massive stork's nests throughout the city. I don't know why they chose Strasbourg as home, but it was an excellent choice. And hopefully this time of year, you'll be able to see some of the new family members that will be arriving around this time. So after Strasbourg, you'll be heading off to the Alsatian wine villages, and this is where you'll meander down this beautiful windy road into the countryside. Storybook villages. It's a postcard everywhere you look, mountain range views, and you're able to experience the wines of the region. This area, especially known for Pinot Noir, which is my number one favorite. So this is just a beautiful experience and one of the last ports on your adventure with us. But you'll be visiting the little villages on this experience in this port. So a lot of little villages to see, a lot of locals to experience, a lot of local crafts, a lot of local artisans in the region. And many of these little villages are still very special, off the beaten path places to visit. So that's a very unique, exclusive experience, in addition to the many others that you have on this itinerary. And then you will disembark here in Basel. But now keep in mind, Basel is a fantastic city on its own right. I want to mention this. It's kind of, I feel like under the radar. When I went here, I was very immersed in the art culture. Of course, that big festival that comes here. I think it's a sophisticated, beautiful, clean city. It's a city without the chaos of tourism, a really special place. So I encourage you to do that extension so that you can experience this region. And of course, seeing Lucerne, which is so magical, in Montreux, on this extension that you can enjoy beyond the May 2nd date. And of course, it being the perfect time to be in this region. And that would conclude the portion of my presentation today. John, do you have anything to add to anything I covered today?
Well, before we get into the Q&A, I did kind of want to talk a little bit about to those people who've never been on a river cruise real quick. Um, and it's such a different experience for all of us who've been on ocean cruises. Literally, a river cruise is more like a floating hotel than it is a cruise. And I'm just going to go through real quick. If you've done the ocean cruises, you know how you go and you go to the port and you wait there until boarding begins and you go through the security lines and all that other kind of stuff. And at the end of the cruise, by the way, for years and years, this is my 40th year in the travel business. The always the lowest rated thing about cruises is the disembarkation process. If you've done ocean cruises before, we've all been sitting in the lobby or something like that, waiting for them to call Purple 3 or whatever it is so we can get off and find our bags, which are somewhere in this giant terminal. Um, and that's kind of what a lot of people think of when they think of cruising. And river cruising, it's just, you're going to hear me say this over and over again, is a floating hotel. And I'm just going to kind of go through how this works, and you'll see how it's more of a hotel that just moves from city to city than a cruise ship. So we mentioned everything's all inclusive. So when you land at the airport in Amsterdam, if you're not doing a pre, we'll just make it simple. You're transferred to the ship, or even if you're doing a pre, you're transferred to the ship. When you get to the ship, regardless of what time it is, let's say you do an overnight flight and you get in at 7 a.m., or you do a hotel and you get there at 10, or whenever it might be, you just walk right on the ship. There is no terminal, port or whatever to go through. You just walk in, you walk up to the reception desk, you tell them your name, they take your luggage, and as soon as you step on board, your vacation begins. So we talk about, all the meals being included, the unlimited pours, those types of things. You walk in, you check in, your rooms may not be available, right? We've all been to hotels before where they say, oh, the rooms are going to be available at 2 in the afternoon or whatever. So they'll take your luggage for you. And then if you're there before lunch, you can have lunch on board. If you want to go up and grab a cocktail, you can grab a cocktail. You can sit up on deck. You can sit in either one of the lounges. They'll also watch your luggage and you can get off the ship and explore the area around the ship. Same thing when the conclusion of the cruise. Okay. So, point being is you just walk on, and then the next day, your ship sails down the river, and you literally can get on and off anytime you want on the ship unless the ship is moving. So, of course, when it's sailing from city to city, you can't get off. But there's a lot of times where they'll typically sail during dinner, or during that cocktail party before dinner or during dinner. So you have something to see while you're sailing. But if the ship docks, after dinner, you can get off the ship. I see it happen all the time. So literally your hotel just moves from city to city. Disembarkation is the area where I think it's such a huge difference. Okay, so you get up in the morning, you have breakfast, and they ask you to vacate your rooms after breakfast because they need to start, cleaning them and disinfecting them and, restocking them and everything else for the next sailing. But you're welcome to stay on board. It's not like you need to get off the ship, and they've got the announcements, get off, get off. So after breakfast checkout room, they have your luggage. They're going to transfer you back to the ship, excuse me, back to the airport. So they'll watch your luggage for you. You're more than welcome to get off the ship, do that last minute, shopping for, souvenirs or whatever it is, or you can stay on board. And if you're there at lunchtime, you can have lunch while you're on board. You can continue to have, cocktails while you're on board. So it is just such more of a relaxed vacation where literally it's your hotel moves, but you don't need to, and there's no kind of stress whatsoever for embarkation or disembarkation. You're very welcome from the moment you step on board, and you're very welcome the entire time you're on the ship. I know that Mandy brought up the walking sticks and that they have bikes that you can use. One of the great things about biking when you're in a river cruise is the paths along the rivers are flat. And so no hills. I mean, I don't mind biking. I'm not a big hill fan. But in the morning, if you want to get up and go for a jog, I know people do that. Sometimes go for a walk, go for a bike ride, get off the ship. The ship's there. You can get up in the morning, go on a bike ride, come back, go to breakfast, freshen up, go out on your excursion, you come back for lunch. It is just such a completely different experience. And, as I said, I've been in this business for 40 years. Whenever I hear somebody say, and there's people that have never been on a cruise but don't think they want to be on it, it's just such a, I mean, they call it river cruising because the ship moves, but it's more, floating hotel, so to speak. All right. Questions. Will you be giving the pricing for the 5 day pre and post extensions? Okay. If you think back to the picture we had of the website, there is a tab that I should have pointed out when I said, there's pricing accommodations where you can go in and you can see all the accommodations. There's a day-to-day itinerary, which kind of does what Manny did, which is go through every day. They have the excursions. One thing about the excursions, just to emphasize again, is they're completely optional. Now they're free, complimentary. But if there's one in the morning and one in the afternoon, you can go on both of them. You can go on one of them. You can go on none of them. Once again, it's your vacation. Do whatever you want. But so those are on the day to day. Anyway, there's a tab that says pre and post extensions. And like we have the day by day for the cruise, these are tours, so there's a day by day. So, let's just do the pre, you're picked up at the airport in Brussels, they tell you the name of the hotel, they tell you what meals are included, and they tell you the sightseeing you're going to do. And then it has the pricing. And the pricing is 41.99 for the 5 night pre and 45.99 for the 5 night post. There is a single supplement on those. So, the single supplement would be you have your own room. So when you're in the hotels, you have a single room. Obviously, double room means you have a double room. Now, we do a single share. We do it on both the cruise and on the land portion, but the single supplement is much lower on the land portion, so mostly on the cruise portion. But I know there's a lot of solo travelers in MOAA, so it's important to me to mention if you want to avoid paying the single supplement for the cruise, we will pair you up with another MOAA member. What we basically do is you let us know that you're looking for a roommate. When someone else says they're looking for a roommate, we put you in contact with each other. You talk via text or phone or email or however you want to talk, and then you guys can decide whether or not you want to share a room together. I bring that up because the very first signature group we did was Paris and Normandy back in 2019 for the 75th anniversary of the landings. That's where the whole idea for signature groups came up. And we have, uh, you know, um, female MOA members, a couple women or women who've met, who roomed together on that sailing, who continue to travel together to this day, both on signature groups and on other trips. Because if you're a solo traveler, it's not a one-time issue. It's whenever you want to go someplace, there's always, that kind of, oh, solo traveler. There's the single supplements and all those other types of things. And so we always have a lot of singles on these signature groups. We just did a webinar last week where somebody asked the question. And I was literally saying, will we have, 14 women or whatever, 14 singles on this because it's a very welcoming environment. But I know sometimes people don't want to be the only single person on board. Don't worry about that. But anyway, if you're interested in us trying to find a roommate for you, you can let us know. I thought I had this pulled up where I could look up the single supplement, but it's on that page. So, okay, next question. Can you elaborate on the walking tour excursions? How far do you expect to walk? How far do you expect to walk? Um, Before I'm going to turn this over, I'll let Amanda answer this one as well. I just wanted to say something about this. So, we're going to have the entire ship. We mentioned that. And one of the great things about the excursions on Uniworld is you don't need to pre-plan them. This is not that type of vacation. It's a kind of more laid back or whatever. So, when you're thinking about these excursions and the options and which one I want to do, you actually decide while you're on board. And they have enough room on all the excursions for everybody who wants to go. And it's not like it's set in stone either. If you can imagine a picture of the lobby of the ship, on one side of the room there is the registration desk. On the other side, there's two desks. It's the actual cruise director, and I will be sitting at the other desk, and I'm there for one reason only. When I escort these groups, that's to make sure you have as much fun as possible. But as I said, you kind of pick what you want to do. But if you want to change, you either talk to the cruise director, you talk to me. We're more than happy to change it. So let's say you're at dinner and you're planning on doing a tour, and at dinner you meet a couple of couples and they're talking and you guys kind of hit it off, and it's like, let's all do the walking tour together. You can literally just go, we're going to go on the walking tour instead. But typically they have buses, and so sometimes the buses are actually buses, but they have groups, so like group one, group two, group three. And the reason I kind of started talking on this whole thing was to get to the point that they always have a group six, and group six is for people that want to walk at a slower pace. So it's kind of, if sometimes groups move a little bit quicker than you want to. So there's always that option with Uniworld of the more leisurely place tour. So even on the walking tour, if you want to go on the walking tour, but you're concerned about how far it is, or you're concerned about how quickly people are walking, Uniworld with when we do these, we always have that option available to you. How long they are, there's going to be varying lengths. As I said, you pick these on board. So every evening before dinner, the cruise director will speak, and she'll talk about the next day's excursions, about what the options are, what time you're meeting, the group numbers and those types of things. So I mean, you know, each she could give you that kind of information on each of the walking tours. I just want to make sure everybody understands that if your concern on the length of the walking tour is the length or the speed or anything like that, always going to offer that group six. It's always group six that is going to be the more leisurely pace. Mandy, do you want to say anything else about group six or the walking excursions?
Sure. So there are different activity levels amongst everyone on board. And keep in mind, one thing I did want to mention is the passenger count maximum on our ships is 152, right? So
Yeah.
we're not looking at thousands of people and this mismanagement,
Yeah.
crowds and stuff. We're a very well ran operation. We've been doing this for over 50 years. You can completely trust us. We know what we're doing doing, and we know how to accommodate different people at different mobility levels. So that's something, if you have those concerns, just let Jon and his team know so that we can be aware of that that's a sensitive issue, and then we'll make sure we accommodate. That is absolutely our job, is to make sure everyone is traveling at the right speed. We need to speed it up or slow it down for certain people. We'll just break you off into different groups based on the attendance for that particular excursion.
Yeah. And first off, the Uniworld staff is phenomenal. I probably should have said that sooner. I mean, part of the reason that we always select Uniworld when we do these signature groups is the feedback we get. The onboard staff is phenomenal. Anything you want or need, I mean, they're there to accommodate you much as possible. But since we're talking about the walking tours or the excursions, the local guides they use are also phenomenal folks. We always get rave reviews about the local guides because you have the cruise director on board and they coordinate everything. But let's say we get off and this day we have six groups, five groups, whatever it is. So there'll be a local guide that escorts that group because obviously somebody who lives in the city and does tours of their city, day in, day out, is going to know a whole lot more about that. So the local guides are just phenomenal as well. Okay, what is the dress code for meals? Okay, I'm going to let Mandy rather, answer this for kind of what the Uniworld policy is, but basically, Uniworld's policy, if you go on their website or you do any Uniworld cruise, is during the day, whatever you're comfortable in. You're going to be going off, I mean, if I kind of talked about the day, you get up in the morning, you have breakfast, you get off the ship, you do excursion, you come back, you have lunch, you go back out in the afternoon. So you're walking around, biking, busing, whatever that might be. So pretty much just whatever you're comfortable in, they're going to suggest comfortable walking shoes, which is always a great idea. They're going to say bring layers because it can get cool in the afternoon. Another great idea. And then at dinner time, they say no shorts, no t-shirts. I'm sure there's some other kind of stipulations they have on that. But keep in mind, this is a MOAA takeover of this ship. So we have the entire ship, so we pretty much can do whatever we want. So MOAA likes to keep it casual. You're on vacation, whatever you're comfortable wearing. We really have no stipulations, but you know, you've all been in the service industry. Or, sorry, you've all been in the service. If you show up at dinner in shorts and a tank top, I think you're going to get a hard time from your fellow MOA members. But if that doesn't bother you, listen, we did one once where people were concerned about open-toed shoes or something like that, whatever. You're on vacation. Whatever you want to wear is fine. I will tell you, in the air conditioners work really well. It is kind of a cooler time of year. Most men will wear slacks and a polo. Women will wear, their pantsuits or a sundress or whatever it is. Some gentlemen wear jackets to dinner. A lot of times if the women might want to bring a sweater or something like that in case it's cool in there. But really, it's MOA's taking the ship over. You can do whatever you'd like. I do want to bring up when we talk about dress code, is we try to make these as fun as possible. So we have theme nights. So last year we did a disco night, a 70s disco party, and we did a dressed in black and white party. And I'm telling you, we do these disco parties. It is some of the outfits. If you've seen the pictures, we got a little video from a ship where everybody dressed up. It's just amazing. It's fun if you participate. They make them fun evenings, so it's not really a dress code. You're not required to dress up. For example, at the disco party, I brought everybody flashing disco ball necklaces. And some people, that's the extent of what their outfit was. Other people dressed up a little bit more. We talked about if you join Eastern Europe this year, this is the 50th anniversary for Uniworld. So this year it's going to be dressed in gold to celebrate the 50th anniversary. But it's not a dress code. It's just, we're going to have dressed in gold party, so to speak. One of the things we do with the signature groups when we start talking about dress code and these kind of things is approximately 30 days before the trip leaves. I will host a webinar with everyone who is in the group. So I mentioned Eastern Europe's coming up. We have the date for that. It's June something. I can't remember exactly what the date is off the top of my head. I think it's June 13th. But anyway, invite everyone who's on the group and we go through, and then we actually go through all of the information that cruise and do the day. Dress code comes up a lot. But anyway, if you go on the cruise, we won't know for a while what we're doing next year. We always take suggestions, but the 70s disco party is always so much fun. So we'll probably do that. Probably another like dressed in white party or dressed in black and white party or something like that next year. But we don't know. We take suggestions, but they're just fun. But as far as dress code, I'm going to go the other way. Some people like to dress up in great photo ops and those types of things. So there's like a captain's welcome dinner the second night. We'll have our welcome reception the first night. So the second night there's a captain's welcome reception. He'll be in tux or his dress uniform. The staff will all be dressed up nice. So if you want to dress up, absolutely dress up. Really, whatever you want to wear, as casual as you want or as dressed up as you want. Feel free to if you want to wear a suit and tie, um, have the wife, get up in her best gown or whatever. Everyone will be telling you how great you look, great photo ops. And one other thing before I turn it over to Mandy to talk about the dress code, is the photos. One of the great things we do on these signature groups is we do a photo sharing thing. I don't know if anybody's familiar with a thing called Flickr. But what it is it's photo sharing where everybody's allowed to upload their pictures and then you can download pictures. And so during the entirety of the cruise, in addition to escorting it, I'm going to be taking pictures. I'll go around at dinner and take pictures of people, tables at dinner and throughout the ship. And when people dress up for the disco night or the other party, I'll take videos, on the excursions. And then I upload all my pictures. And then any of you who want to take pictures can upload yours. And then they're available for people not only to view, but to download. And so I've heard great feedback from people for, anytime you need a picture, you just ask me. But, it's great to have that resource. And they're actually on the MOAA website. And so we actually have a page on the MOAA website for every signature group we've done. So it's like this archival kind of thing. But, so important the memories kind of thing that you have of these trips. But it's just awesome after the trip when we put these together. I do it. I go through and I look through all these pictures and all these other types of things. One other thing I'm going to say about as you probably guessed, we do name tags for everyone because you're going to meet 150 new people on the very first night. We also do passenger manifests. You're not required to be on it, but a lot of people do, which is just a list we give everybody who's everyone's on it, which helps me, and I'm sure a lot of you remember people because you're like, last night at dinner, we were talking to these people who are from Des Moines, Iowa, or were from Iowa. And you can look at the list and you can go, oh, that was the Carters or whoever it may be. So we do everything we can to kind of, kickstart that camaraderie. So when you're at any event, dinner, there's a cocktail party before dinner every night. You're on the excursion, you're at breakfast or whatever. You sit down with people, they have their name tags, and it's a great way to start learning the names of everyone. They're a great help to me because I'm going to get on board. And as I mentioned, 40, 50 of the people I'll recognize from previous signature groups, but there'll be 100 new people on each cruise, and it's just really adds, I think, to the whole experience. But anyway, dress code, if you'd like to address that, Mandy.
Sure. And I can understand, when you see our team on board, they're dressed to the nines. They are professionally trained. We have expectations for our team on board, and we don't use any third party staffing, food sources. So everyone on board knows what the expectations are for Uniworld. That being said, when you see them dressed to the nines in their professional outfits, that doesn't mean you need to be dressed to the nines. As Jon and I have mentioned, this is your vacation. You
Yeah.
experience this whole river cruise, the extensions on your terms. And at the end of the day, it's similar to anything else. When you go to a local event that you may be dressed up, and then you see other people that aren't, that's okay. They're just coming. I always call it their free to be me outfit. But us ladies, we have all these stretchy clothes now. So even if we look like we're really business forward and professional, they're oftentimes including some stretch. I don't know if the gentleman's clothing has caught on to that. So we can still be comfortable and look classy, right? But I love it. I love getting dressed up once in a while. When do we get to dress up? I mean, very rarely, maybe a wedding now and then. So this is a great opportunity to get great pictures. But gosh, if you want to just be comfy, feel free to do so. I think the general rule of thumb, I feel like whenever I travel, it's almost like a country club casual golfy type clothing, like Jon said, a polo shirt for dinner. And then when you come off the plane, I remember the last time I boarded, I had my stocking cap on and my yoga pants on and my tennies on, and I was completely comfortable and nobody was clutching their pearls. So you just be you and enjoy, and it's all about making memories.
There you go. You talk about that. So, um, we do a family vacation every year, like a lot of people. And we do that kind of dress up thing because we like to have a travel picture for our Christmas card. So me, the wife, and the daughter will always bring one outfit along, no matter what we're doing, ocean cruising, river cruising, whatever it may be, because we want that kind of, get that picture taken that we use for the Christmas cards kind of thing. So always a fun thing to do. Okay, so on the screen, you have the 800 number, you have the email address. If you're interested in Eastern Europe, just drop us an email or give us a call. We're more than happy to send the webinar. We did for that. As I mentioned, we have 6 staterooms remaining. It's a fantastic group. I know a number of the people that are going. It's going to be just a wonderful time. Budapest to Bucharest is such a classic kind of cruise itinerary. If you don't have any plans this summer, I'd love to have you join us. Likewise, once you decide you want to go on this trip, remember, fill out that book now form. But any questions, just give us a call, drop us an email. We want to make sure we answer all of your questions. Feel free to invite your friends and neighbor. As I said, you're going to get an email that's going to have a link to see this webinar again. There'll be a little information in it, and then, of course, a link to the website. Feel free to share that email with friends and family that you'd like to invite to join you, and then they can go to the website. They can watch the webinar on their own. So you're not stuck trying to remember everything Amanda and I said and share it with them. They can just watch it on their own. So thank you everybody for watching this webinar. Once again, personally invite you to join. Would love to meet you on a Uniworld group. They are addictive. So once you go on one, we have people who go year after year because they just are the greatest vacation. It is awesome to go with fellow service folk and experience these things together. You'll meet people that you end up become friends with, travel with, go, and I say friends you've never met before. At some point, it's going to be friends you've met before as well as new friends. So anyway, with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Amanda for the last word, but I want to thank everybody for joining us today.
Yes, it's all about making those memories, making connections. It's so healthy to do, right? Get out of that routine of kind of being closed and be more open and have those experiences. I was just reading a quote a couple days ago about how we in this country spend more on storage than we do on travel. So I know none of us wish we had more stuff, but somehow we tend to keep accumulating. And I love being in the business of accumulating memories and experiences. I feel so fortunate to be a small part of this, of you getting out in the world and experiencing how beautiful the world is. We all need a reminder once in a while, I guess. So, thank you so much for having me, Jon. Like I said, I'm honored to be a part of this, getting these special clients of yours out into the world, and can't wait to see you on the next show.
Looking forward to seeing everybody at the next show and looking forward to seeing you on board. Have a great weekend, everybody. Bye.